finally reached the end. A year and a half, I guess, after we started. A year and 3 months, I guess we should to be exact. And the last 6 months had to be the most excruciating part because everything took, what used to take a week when I was here took 2 months when I was gone. But we actually put the last touches in yesterday. There's still a little painting to do, but the house is pretty much what the house is going to be. I keep thinking about, when I stand in the house, I keep thinking about my great-grandmother. And the one thing that was so distinctive that there's a story when her oldest son got married. They came in here to do the Debke. This would have been 1932. And all she could think about, it was a joyous occasion. It was, her oldest son is getting married. And all she could think about was that they were going to break the marble because they were doing the Debke on it. And so every time I look at this marble, I think of her like getting on, she was on her hands and knees every day cleaning the marble. And for the first time in 40 years, you can actually see the marble again. She tried to turn it into a mirror, and I always imagine her on, cleaning that marble, seeing her own reflection in it. In the same way that the house kind of reflected her. And now that the house is done, the house is reflecting itself again, but kind of in a different way. So this is the balcony, which was as it was. Even the drabzin, the iron here, the grill, was what it was, and it was actually easy to restore. It's amazing that it could last this long. There's two kinds of iron that you can make. You can make it with nails, which is considered a Western way to do it. And there's a more traditional Arab way or an Eastern way, which is everything is clasped, everything is bound with small iron rings. And what I love about this is the new iron that we put in was a much more traditional way of welding it together. This has that old touch. Everything is clasped together. It's kind of like, it feels like a grip to me in a way, like some hand holding something to keep it with you. And it always reminds me of when I look at that and how that iron, and it lasted. It lasted from the birth of the house in 1920. And almost 100 years later, it's still there in remarkably good shape. In my great-grandmother's last days, she had turned this into a kitchen with a bathroom. And this actually doesn't bear much resemblance to what the house originally was. It's a brand new kitchen. This, I guess, is the concession to the more modern needs of a house. So. But I was able to keep, again, it's, what do you lose, what do you keep? And the tile it's the same old tile you had, and actually this tile was originally in the kitchen, so we were able to take it up and put it back down. And then finally we go back into here. This would have been more what the house originally was. This was called Odet Nabi, so it's the Nabi's room, and Nabi was the oldest son who had the wedding party doing the Debke on the marble. And this room is identical to what it was, even to the wood ceiling. The same design of wood. We tried to save some of that wood, but after 80 years, just so much water damage and so much mistreatment, you just couldn't keep it. But we were able to stay faithful to the pattern itself. I think this house was all compromises in a way. In the end, what you kept and what you didn't keep. And the designs are the same on the arches, but they're new, of course. You couldn't have saved the old. Then there's the door that we did save as old. That generation would have never kept the wall as this is. They would have plastered it. Stone was just utilitarian, and now stone kind of takes on a different idea or a different identity. And I think that's what actually, the more I think about it, the further I get away from the actual reconstruction, where it's not these questions of what's going to get done, how we're going to finish it, how much we're going to have to pay to finish it. It's, like I was saying downstairs a little bit, what the house becomes afterwards. And I think the biggest fear I have now, having finished it, is I think there's a certain loneliness, and there's that minute you walk into the house after having been gone for a little while, and it does feel lonely. There's a sense of it being empty again, and it's repaired, and it's renovated, and it's restored. But how do you fight that loneliness that's been the house's identity for so long? And I think that's the question now. Is, like I said, we reached one end, but in a way it's another beginning. And the house has to resurrect itself in some way, and it has to take on a new identity, a new meaning, and it has to do that without. Some way you have to find, how do you combat that loneliness? How do you get past that loneliness? And I think that's that's what you look forward to from now on.